Welcome to ISTP 2024. And a very, very warm welcome to all of you to Singapore.
We hope that the next 3 days will be a meaningful experience for all of us.
No, we are not going back to Summit Session 2. I just wanted to make that clear. So colleagues, this is a very important moment of every ISTP. It's probably more exciting than the Eurovision Song Contest in some ways, but let me say that in the past we have used alphabetical order in order to ensure that people know when their turn is about to occur. We've decided to add a little bit of drama to this afternoon. We have no idea what the order is going to be until I see on my screen a country name appear. But it certainly won't be alphabetical. It'll be dependent upon the loading at the back as to who comes up next. So this is really going to be quite exciting. I can feel the excitement in the room, yeah. And by the way, the other exciting thing is that we have decided that you need no more than 90 seconds rather than 2 minutes to identify your commitment. So it'll be as fast as the commitments arrive. And the wonderful thing is that Canada, you are ready to go, and in a moment we are going to see the Canada commitments appear on the screen. And it is over to you.
Thank you. First is strengthening Indigenous education through pre-service training and ongoing professional learning.
Implementing the necessary conditions to promote teachers' well-being in the school community and bolster the attraction and retention of teachers.
And finally, strengthening capacity and support for teachers to responsibly incorporate digitalization in education to meet the diverse learning needs of students.
Thank you very much. That is modelling exactly what we need. Can I now call upon China? Thank you. It is a wonderful
we want to pay attention to the technological change and also the changes in the students' learning, as well as enhance the digital literacy of the teachers, and also enrich the learning resource platform, and to use artificial intelligence to empower the education. Third is to continue to collaborate with all countries, and also continue with the exchange, with the cultural exchange for sustainable development. We want to welcome all of you to China to understand before you can truly understand, and to build a better world. Thank you.
Thank you, China. I'm going to now move to the Czech Republic.
Okay, thank you very much. Would it be possible to enlarge the script, please? So I would need my glasses, perhaps. Okay, I will do my best to. Well, after a lively debate with the colleagues of mine, we have identified 3 commitments: a further improvement of the undergraduate teacher training quality, in particular by putting the competency framework for graduate teachers into practice and by improving the quality of students' pedagogical training. Second, piloting and pursuing the introduction of elements of a career system for teachers and school principals. And third, further development of offer of educational programs for teachers in the field of digital well-being and cyber prevention. Thank you very much.
And thank you. Can we now move to Denmark?
Yeah, ours is a bit long, so I'll pick out the cherries. We will create a better balance between practical and theoretical teaching. We will therefore focus on the implementation of a mandatory work experience, as well as making the teaching in traditional subjects more practical and diverse for all students. And number 2, we will strengthen students' abilities to reflect critically on the impact of technology. In both primary and lower secondary school, this will take form by integrating technology comprehension as a perspective in traditional subjects, as well as establishing technology comprehension as an elective course in the lower secondary school. In general and vocational upper secondary school, the role of technology will be included as a perspective in various subjects to enhance students' digital competences and critical thinking. And third, we will invite stakeholders to a joint roundtable discussion to follow up on ISTP 2024. Thank you.
Thank you. Estonia.
Thank you. These are our key insights. The main key insight is that we do feel that the teaching and teachers' profession is fundamentally under the change, and we need to be vigilant here in terms of changing our curriculum and the way the schools are managed as well. Our 3 insights or 3 commitments is that we are in the process, and we would like to, by the next year this time, to agree on a very broadband agreement, education partnership agreement between the main key stakeholders in Estonian education system, to agree on the major changes and principles that we need to implement in order to go to this 21st century skills, and also especially to retain the teachers and the teaching profession. We are committed to focus on AI guidelines to schools, and also to the implementation plans and use cases development led by AE Implementation Council that is currently under the plan of initiating this job. And third, we have a commitment that we need to take is reducing the dropout rate from the secondary schools. In order for the children to really acquire the 21st century skills, we need to focus on reducing the dropout rate and providing them much more flexible learning paths after the age of 15, 16 to acquire the 21st century skills. So these are our commitments.
Thank you. Finland.
Thank you. The first commitment, we will make sure that every child and young person is given sufficient support on their path of learning as soon as the need is identified, and to provide more robust support for learning in early childhood education and care. And the second, we will take an active role in influencing the working conditions of teachers so that they will want to stay in their profession. And the third, we will make sure that the entire educational pathway from early childhood education and care to higher education is better considered, and also increase appreciation of education among families and in every sector of society. Thank you.
Thank you, Finland. Germany?
Yeah. Thank you. Germany has 2 points. First, we want to strengthen the focus on international cooperation and learning from each other. Exchange formats such as the ISTP format are valuable platforms for this. Also, the substantive cooperation between the member countries of the OECD. Second, the future of learning can only be successful if all partners involved in schools work closely together. In doing so, we want to focus our attention on other partners and establish broad-based networks for schools.
Thank you, Germany. Can I go to Iceland?
Okay. 3 commitments: investing in attracting students, in teacher training and teachers into the profession, improving teachers' retainment and preventing early attrition by providing mentoring for novice teachers and quality professional development in line with the needs of teachers.
Improve the working conditions of teachers by providing schools with enhanced support, integrated services to safeguard quality education, and improve retainment and sustainment of teachers in partnerships with key stakeholders.
And the last one, revise the content of initial teachers training and professional development programs to equip teachers with the necessary competences to ensure that students acquire the skills needed for the future, whilst supporting all learners on their path of learning, enhancing academic achievement and engagement while protecting social and emotional well-being. Thank you.
Thank you. Republic of Ireland.
Our 3 commitments, and I want to thank our colleagues in the union in the unions for working with us on this and the collaborative approach they've adopted here, like every other delegation. I want to thank them. But Ireland will continue to invest in quality and timely teacher professional learning to support teachers and school leaders in developing future-ready competencies and using assessment effectively as part of teaching and learning. Technology must complement and augment supports for learners that meet their needs. We will ensure that we harness the potential benefits of digital technologies while also safeguarding against risks that may arise. And our 3rd point, we will maximise learning for all children and young people by continuing to adopt a collaborative partnership approach. Such an approach ensures that learning is not restricted to the boundaries of classroom walls, and it supports high-quality individual and collaborative learning experiences that support lifelong learning for all.
Thank you. Latvia.
Thank you. So for the most powerful takeaways from the summit, what we will bring with us is to promote teaching as a collaborative profession, building partnerships between schools, social partners, parents, communities, and industries. Also find and implement shared principles in using artificial intelligence in the education process safely and ethically, and train teachers according to the technological advances for lifelong learning, for lifelong success. And the 3 commitments that the Ministry and the Union have considered. Number 1 is to work on development of a unified professional development system, which will be based on teachers' needs, including high quality and accessible methodological support at both national and local levels. Also attract and retain teachers by providing flexible and accessible opportunities for teachers to obtain the additional professional qualifications. Also evaluate our already existing procedures and develop and offer programs based on the needs of teachers in all subjects. And also the strengthening teachers' professional competencies regarding teachers, parents, pupils' rights, responsibilities, and duties, as I mentioned before, and also strengthening teachers' professional competencies on use of educational technology, including AI, to make teaching more effective. Thank you.
Thank you. New Zealand.
Thank you, Tony. Aotearoa New Zealand commit to developing a framework in partnership with stakeholders for the responsible and ethical use of generative AI in education.
All partners work together to create a long-term policy on aspiring and in-service principle development.
And finally, all partners work together to strengthen the provision of ITE to address barriers to the attraction and retention of teachers.
Thank you. Poland.
Three commitments. The Polish government, in robust collaborative effort with trade unions, dedicated to three commitments. Develop and comprehensive the modern concept of health education, including physical, mental and social well-being. The model will define the conditions for ensuring the well-being of teachers and pupils, as well as first aid training for children.
Develop a model of systematic support for novice teachers. Develop a concept for identifying, recruiting and training mentors, and train an initial group of 600 mentors to pilot new approaches.
Prepare 1,000 teachers to work as a consultant and trainers to accessibility in the broadest sense to develop educational institutions' capacity to respond to students' diverse needs.
Thank you.
Thank you. Slovenia.
Thank you. The three commitments are cooperation in the reform of the public sector salary system with both the Ministry of Education and the Education, Science and Culture Trade Union of Slovenia for an adequate recognition of the teacher work. The second is partnership cooperation in the development of all educational legislation. And the third, joint endeavor to ensure that teachers and other professional staff in education are adequately educated and trained. Thank you.
Thank you. Spain.
Thank you, Chairman. We commit to improve the teaching profession, and we start revising university programs for future teachers in collaboration with universities and also trade unions, to ensure that new teachers joining our schools have the appropriate skills and competences as the starting point for an attractive teaching career. And we also commit to ensure that the incorporation of artificial intelligence serves to improve the competences of all students and well-being of both teachers and students through support and training of teachers, enabling the reduction of the bureaucratic process.
And the last one, to generalize the collaboration of all stakeholders in the education system, especially trade unions and ministries, in order to achieve a cohesive system that meets the needs of our societies through the strengthening of collaborative institutions such as state and regional school councils.
Thank you. To Sweden.
A key insight from the Swedish delegation is that many countries who have been the forerunners of using technology in teaching and digital learning are now realizing its negative effects on students' learning of basic skills.
And our commitments are to continue our joint efforts and dialogue with a view to attract and retain highly qualified and certified teachers and school leaders, and jointly strive to introduce new measures that will improve teachers' working conditions and school environment. And secondly, we are going to continue to improve equity, for example, by strengthening the overall state involvement in school system and take measures to ensure a more equitable financing model to create better conditions for a high-quality school system. And thirdly, continue the work to support schools and teachers in their role as crucial actors responding to global challenges, such as the green industrial transition, by, for example, inspiring more young people to choose study programs in STEM subjects. In order to do so, students need to be given early support to feel the confidence to excel in mathematics. And of course, to make that possible, teachers need to have good conditions.
Thank you. Switzerland.
To think, I would like to talk in French. So the idea of 3 points is we will keep it, and that is we have learned a lot of things. So thank you for the sharing of experience. And we realize that concerning competencies, there are a lot of changes. I tried to share with you yesterday, there was a lot of changes, how our youth will see AI, and for the teachers and for the pupils, they will do changes in orientation. They will not. They will choose other jobs. And second, in visiting ITE, Science and Technology, and 13 to 16 years, I was surprised, and I think that for Singapore, it's very ambitious to do this. I should say that I was asking myself what we can do in Switzerland. Thank you for sharing this. And in discussion with the Minister of Education in Singapore concerning possible collaboration, we have a new service, Move in Helvetia, which we can put for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Switzerland. US.
On there. Thank you. We are committing to enhancing student well-being and academic outcomes, and doing that by expanding our purposeful collaboration by deepening our engagement across all educational levels involving education-focused organizations, private educational partners, business and industry, and relevant government agencies. After we enhance student well-being and academic outcomes, we then go on to supporting and valuing our educators, and we do that by concentrating on improving and supporting giving support to educators by fostering a collaborative environment for them to work in, respecting their professional autonomy, enhancing recruitment processes, and ensuring sustainable work conditions, and all of that by diversifying the workforce at the same time. Then we move on to transforming schools into community centers. We do that by cultivating schools into diverse and inclusive environments. These centers are fostering growth and development for students, families, community members, educators, and leaders through active and meaningful collaboration. Once we enhance student well-being, academic outcomes, supporting and valuing educators, and transforming schools into community centers, we then move on to reconceptualizing career pathways, and we do that by revamping educational structures to provide high-quality career pathways for students and adults alike through the expansion of strategic partnerships that equip them with the essential skills for rapidly changing and unpredictable global landscape. And finally, from what we've learned in the last several days, is embracing future learning technologies by engaging with emerging technologies to advance learning and teaching for both students and educators, and we will leverage the knowledge and experience we plan to create more efficient, effective educational tools while carefully navigating the challenges and opportunities that these technologies present. That's what U.S. commits to, and here are our key takeaways.
Our key takeaways are ISTP's 2024's focus on the whole child and a whole child and a whole approach of the community. There's an emphasis on the importance of partnerships and collaboration in ensuring success for students and educators having a sense of agency and efficacy. Thank you.
Thank you, US. To Australia.
It was almost in alphabetical order. I thought for a second Australia started with a U rather than...
U for Union.
U for Union, yeah. Three commitments. The first one is to continue work to address the national teacher shortage in Australia, including through the implementation of our National Teacher Workforce Action Plan. I think we'll get a taste of some of that in an ad we're going to show in a minute. The second is to design and implement reforms to turn around that drop in high school completion rates that I spoke about earlier this afternoon, focusing in particular on students from equity groups, from poor families, from regional parts and remote parts of Australia, Indigenous Australians and Australians with a disability. And the third, Karina, I'll get you to add.
Thanks, Minister. And the third is really picking up on the groundbreaking work of the UN high-level panel on the teaching profession. We have committed to examine initiatives to further support teaching and learning and considering those recommendations, all 59 of them, and helping strengthen our teaching profession in Australia.
Thank you very much. And I'm just going to receive information.
Milo confided in me because I took the time to talk to her, because there's all that peer pressure into where I have to look a certain way, I have to act a certain way. I wanted her to realise how special it was for her to be comfortable in her own skin. When I left and she knew that I probably won't see her ever again, she gave me this. Dear Miss Luke, I just wanted to thank you for everything you have done for me. I was struggling pretty bad before you came to teach us. Not only do you look like one of my idols, you are one. Oh, Mila. It was just so potent. The fact that you can be someone's idol. You know, you always talk about how we will influence the kids, but think about the thousands of kids that you teach over your career. They can change your life.
Authorised by the Australian Government, Canberra.
Just a bit of emotion. Thank you. Can you just add a comment about the campaign?
So this time last year when we met in Washington, in the OECD report that we were given, it talked about the shortage of teachers in different countries, and there was a survey there of teachers across the OECD. Do you feel like you're respected by your community? And in places like Singapore, it was about 60 or 70%. And in places like Australia, it was about 30%. And I remember, Andreas, you saying in countries like Germany, in Germany, teachers are paid higher than many other parts of Europe, but have got a bigger shortage of teachers than many other countries. And so it's more than about money. It's about how teachers are viewed by their community and how teachers view themselves in the community they work in. And that's what that TV campaign is about. It's about respect. It's been viewed in the last 6 months 77 million times, only 65 million times by me personally. And it's lent on campaigns that have been run around the world. I remember one in the US about 20 years ago, a sign on a subway train in New York City that said, "Do you remember your first grade teacher's name? Who will remember yours?" And so that is a small part, but a very meaningful part of the work we're doing to encourage more Australians to want to be that teacher.
Well, thank you very much, and I take it, in a sense, this is a gift to our community, and others will have the opportunity. Thank you very much. Great. That's wonderful. To Singapore.
It's incredibly difficult to come after such a powerful video. Thank you very much. Singapore renews our commitment to mold the future of our nation one student at a time, to help each one succeed regardless of their starting point in these three areas. Firstly, on the future of learning, which we believe to be in the cultivation of the 21st century competencies to foreground this development and to support our teachers. This is the year 2024. We are 24 years or quarter our way into the 21st century. So this is a task of utmost urgency. Secondly, on the role of technology, we commit to implement with fidelity our Master Plan 2030 through our teachers, so that we can leverage technology to advance both the art and science of learning. And thirdly, on partnerships, this is absolutely critical. We commit to making time and building trust to strengthen the partnership with our parents, our community partners, our unions, our industry, so that our students can indeed learn for life. Thank you.
Well, thank you, colleagues. That's a remarkable collection of commitments. And thinking forward, John Bangs, let me just be clear that the report, and we understood from day one that it's going to be of a different order, will help all of us to fully appreciate the richness of this summit, and we hope that that would be available to people in the month of July.
Yeah, that's fine.
Great, thank you, John. I got the month right. Good. Okay, so we look forward to that, and then, as you all know, in 12 months' time, when we reconvene, we'll have the opportunity to see the progress that we have made individually and collectively. So it's a remarkable way of giving each other support and encouragement in an agenda which is certainly transformational in nature. Thank you very much. So, colleagues, we're going to move to a number of closing comments. And so, could I immediately pass to David Edwards for closing comments from our co-host EI.
Thanks, Tony. Firstly, I would like to thank Minister Chan, Ruby, Barnabas, Vincent, and the rest of their incredible team for organizing and hosting such a fantastic ISTP here in Singapore. I really believe I speak for all the participants here from around the world who greatly appreciate your incredible attention to detail, your purposeful construction of our learning environment, and the way your national commitment to multicultural inclusiveness permeated every aspect of our program. A deep thanks also goes to Mike and our STU colleagues for taking such great care of the union delegations from end to end, as well as to Andreas and our OECD colleagues for once again informing our discussion with analysis and timely information, as well as respecting and reflecting our collective principles that undergird the ISTP process and hold our social partnership together. We are all pleased that a healthy Tony McKay is back at the ISTP and joined in moderation by the insightful Siew Hoong. Lastly, permit me to thank our ISTP historian and rapporteur John Banks, as well as Undra and Larry for contributing to the preparation on behalf of the I team. And I'd also like to thank my partner in teaching for the last 14 ISTPs, this being her last, Susan Hopgood. Yes. This was certainly an ambitious summit by many accounts, and one marked by both allegory and real-world experience. Both are critical to the way Singapore has conceived of its learning journey, while it purposefully responds to the shifts such as commodification, fragmentation, and generative AI, by trusting and supporting its teachers without over-structuring environments or reducing their autonomy. At the conclusion of a summit of owls and butterflies, one potential response to that caterpillar's query is to simply spend more time with butterflies, and for the owls to make that possible. Of course, we also know at this inflection point for education it is more complicated than that when it comes to creating the enabling environment to bring what some call 21st century competencies and others call a pedagogy of solidarity into the reality of public education classrooms, where different expectations, resources, and experience mediate those curricular aims. We heard about doing so in countries that are hosting huge refugee populations, and in a growing number of jurisdictions where untenable teacher shortages and intensified bureaucratic demands are driving an exodus out of our profession. We also heard discussions taking place in a few countries where a preference for the basics of a more scripted and transactional path are posited in reaction to the higher order collaborative and trust-based reforms of a more relational and sustainable future. Estonia and Finland reminded us that whatever students need to learn tomorrow, tomorrow's teachers need to learn today. And there was a general consensus on the need for a future-ready CPD, continuous professional development, and a transversal approach to integrating new competencies. The role of technology and generative AI, perhaps unsurprisingly given where we are, permeated across all the discussions. And we learned that the disruptive impact of smartphones in schools had a larger negative effect size than even the pandemic on student learning, not to mention the detrimental impacts on mental health. And we learned that reading actual books, and I can hear my librarian members cheering around the world, rather than scrolling on e-readers or some other screen, was an analog innovation with huge educational value. And that hence some countries like Denmark are applying the brakes to the digitalization of everything trend, so that many edu businesses were advocating, and instead are now working with union at eye level on the curriculum and partnerships. We discussed the guidelines and guardrails around the use of AI in education, and we agreed to develop at the last summit, and which should be updated continuously. Susan cautioned that our students should not be the crash test dummies of untested products, and that teachers and their unions need to be engaging in the design phase rather than negotiating around the impact, which would be far too late. And to this end, it is important that ministers and union leaders make use of the guidelines and guardrails to develop their own approaches. And equally important, I should add, is to meet and discuss the UN high-level panel recommendations, which in so many ways dovetail with the work we have all carried out over these last 14 summits. And it's fantastic to hear that Australia has already begun that work. In our second session, we were asked if we are too late in terms of getting out in front of the use of AI in education and vocational education. The answer seems somewhat like the answers around when is the best time to plant a tree. Ideally, 20 years ago. The next best time? Now. We heard of potential uses of AI to unburden teachers from bureaucratic busy work, assessment, tutoring, etc. But we were also cautioned about the cognitive atrophy and over-reliance on AI can bring to teachers and students. Andreas called technology the great amplifier that was as good as amplifying bias and inequality as good teaching and higher-order thinking. However, at a time when AI can generate video images of individuals saying and doing things they never have said or done, we need to ask ourselves if media literacy is enough to ensure that the amplification of misinformation and deepfakes do not do irreparable harm to our societies and democracies. As educators and policymakers, we've been both precisely wrong and roughly correct. One of the great lessons of history is how little we learn from history. And the history of education is strewn with fads, short-termism, and more than a few babies with the bathwater. Remember when the tech companies complained that we lacked coders and an enormous effort and resources were spent, largely unsuccessfully I might add, to educate a workforce of coders? Anyone want to venture a guess at something AI does quite well by itself now? So now here we are, as the search for highly demanded data scientists shifts to prompt engineers. And no, I do not mean an engineer who shows up on time. Colleagues, ask yourself, what is a prompt engineer? Is it not someone who constructs questions in an informed and purposeful way so as to elicit a meaningful response that extends thinking and solves a problem? Remember when we used to call them a teacher? Lastly, we discussed the importance of partnering within a network-based system that enables collective efficacy and sharing power. Germany spoke of the importance of the voice and participation of support personnel and students, and Sweden spoke of the way that structures can enable or disable partnerships, citing where marketized education reforms sometimes undermine partnerships and communities, turning parents from partners into consumers. And Singapore reminded us that when community partners are invested in the cooking of the hot pot, the taste of our collective efforts improves, and our capacity as cooks as well. Colleagues, at this moment in our journey, and in the face of increasing global crises and uncertainty, we need to stay laser focused on what matters most for the teaching profession and our students. Especially in these difficult moments, I encourage all of you to stay at the table, deepen the dialogue, advance the partnerships that ISTP has forged. As our New Zealand colleagues remind us, if we know who we are, we do know where we are going. Thank you all.
With that, we'd like to invite Mr. Yoshiki Takeuchi to make his closing remarks on behalf of OECD.
Thank you very much, distinguished delegates. Instead of bidding you a warm farewell as associate or colleagues, I prefer to bid you a fond farewell to my dear partners, which you really are. We are partners in creating visions, We are partners in pushing frontiers. We are partners in shaping a better world through education. The past 3 days, we have challenged ourselves to achieve the impossible. Our curricula must develop competencies but not ignore knowledge. Our schools must use artificial intelligence but keep and strengthen human relationships. We must improve students' performance in school, but also reimagine, as Minister Chang put it, what their success looks like 50 years down the road. These challenges seem so overwhelming. But let me tell you about another challenge that once seemed overwhelming. 14 years ago, we had an idea to bring together government leaders and teacher organizations around the world. And we had the boldness to believe that they could set their disagreement aside to create stronger economies, stronger societies, and stronger democracies through education. And now, today, we are now concluding the 14th International Summit on Teaching Profession. Governments, teachers, organizations, and the international community are sitting side by side as partners dedicated to realizing fundamental common goals. And we agreed on many things. We agreed that students must learn knowledge, they must learn how to apply their knowledge, and they must learn how to learn. The PISA results from 2022 shows us what can happen when we lose sight of these convictions, but also what we can be accomplished if we do the important things correctly and consistently. Just look at our host, Singapore. We agree that technology is not just transforming schooling, but is disrupting our most basic assumption about what education is, where it occurs, and how it happens. And as we speak, Thales is collecting information from teachers around the world about what they think about artificial intelligence, whether they use it, and for what purposes. Those results will help us understand how technology can be an accelerator for improvement instead of an unregulated destruction. We agree that lifelong learning leads to a lifelong opportunity. Not all students are adults, but all adults must be students. Upskilling, reskilling, and continuous education need to become essential services that governments provide. On the 10th of December, we will be releasing results from our survey of adult skills, which will show how far we have come and how much further we need to go. Finally, we agree that teachers are the center of these conversations. However, look what is happening. 40 years ago, teachers met with parents a few times a year. Then teachers called them a few times a month. Then the parents emailed them a few times a week. Now parents text them a few times a day. And yet, in many countries, students perceive declining levels of teacher support, and schools report declining levels of parents' engagement. We must reverse this trend of commodifying school, where students are consumers, teachers are seen as service providers, and parents as clients. Education can only succeed as a whole of society enterprise in service of public good. Many of you spoke of trust as the essential glue for that. But trust cannot be legislated or mandated. Trust is always intentional. It can only be earned, nurtured, and inspired through the healthy relationship and constructive transparency. And as the person who has first attended this ISTP, I was impressed that these events always end with concrete commitments by delegations. That these commitments will be followed through across electoral cycles and political administrations, and this will be the test for the relevance and the success of ISTP. And this will contribute to the teachers trusting in their education leaders. They trust their leaders' integrity and count on their capacity to do what they say. One thing is clear: the quality of relationship between governments and teachers' union is a powerful determinant for the resilience of the education system and their capacity to respond to challenges and disruptions. So Minister Chan, thank you again for offering this amazing platform, and thank you for all for filling it to life. And when we come back in a year's time, let's see how our commitments to improvements have contributed to a better world. Thank you very much.
Could I ask Iceland if it has an announcement to make?
Yes, thank you, Moderator. Just in the beginning, I would like to send great regards and thank you to Mr. Chan, Minister, for an excellent organizing of everything. The whole days, the school visits, it's been really inspiring, and we have learned a lot. And Iceland is honored to announce that we will be hosting the 15th ISTP Summit in 2025 in Reykjavik. And the dates have been saved. It's the 24th to 26th of March. The formal confirmation of that will be sent after this summit. And we have already set up some it will be in Harpa Conference and Concert Hall in Centrum Reykjavik. We will not have as much temperature as we have here in Singapore. It will probably be a little bit colder, but hopefully in the March you will be able to see the northern lights, the glaciers, and maybe some volcanic eruptions. And the themes that we have been setting up that will of course be discussed with Education International and the OECD. The tentative theme is quality education, the key to prosperity and well-being. And the sub-themes that we have been thinking of and focusing on that we want to discuss with OECD and the Education International in following this summit is number one, building the foundation with quality early childhood education, to focus on the early childhood education and the importance of that in education systems. Secondly, a topic that is close to my heart, equity and well-being in education and training. And the third one, the role of educators in fostering child-centered education system for future-ready citizens. And in the third topic, we want to try to focus on communicating with the youth in our countries, how they see the future and how they see the education system and how they have to be transformed. And I want to say that we will also look at the ISTP from this year and the last years, focusing on lifelong learning and build on the strong importance of strong cooperation between all pillars in the education systems. And as I mentioned before, we have taken some steps when it comes to this in Iceland and are implementing changes in good cooperations with the Teachers Union. And that's why I want to give the chair of the Teachers Union the floor.
I would like to extend my thanks to Singapore, and especially, of course, Mike and his union for a brilliant welcome and a brilliant 3 days. We look forward to planning, along with members of EI and OECD, this meeting. We will turn also to our Scandinavian backbone. I'm looking forward to meeting up with NLS in a meeting next week, where I hope we can enhance what we want to be talking about in Iceland. And as Ásmundur has said, we will not give you the temperature of Singapore, but we hope to equal the warmth of hearts we have encountered here, and really look forward to embracing you all in Iceland next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Iceland. It's a very exciting prospect. In 12 months' time, EI will have further development on the high-level panel recommendations and EI's own global survey work. Andreas, it'll be after the UN's Summit on the Future in September. We will have had the release of the critical and creative thinking results, and we'll be further down the track with the multidimensional index that speaks to the very point here about what it is to be more human and all of the dimensions that you were able to share with us in your opening remarks. So it'll be an exciting time, and being able to have those assets to feed into next year's summit.
With that, let's invite Mr. Mike Thiruman, our General Secretary for Singapore Teachers Union, to make his closing remarks.
Hi, good afternoon. We started with something and we are ending with Iceland soon, right? And hopefully that journey continues. But let me just give my own take of the conversations that has transpired in the last 3 days. Teachers teach. Teachers transform education. Let's keep that in mind, right? As we talk about partnerships, as we talk about technology, teachers are the central key to implement anything. And I want to leave you with 3 T's. Time. Teachers need time to internalize and implement, right? Second T, trust. Teachers need to be trusted and respected. And we saw in the video from Australia for that to happen. And we are doing it in Singapore as well, right? To trust teachers and to respect teachers. The third T, talk. Talk with teachers. Talk with their unions so that we can collaboratively put this agenda of reimagining education and realizing our potential forward. So at the end, I think if we do these 3 T's, time, give teachers time, trust them and talk with them, we will empower teachers to transform education, and they will reimagine education so that we all can realize our potential. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. With that, let us invite our Minister Chan Chun Sing, for his closing remarks.
Thank you, colleagues. Thank you all for your active participation and candid sharing. And thank you all most for your friendship over this conference. We hope that this will be the start of our conversation and the start of our collaboration. I personally have learned a lot from all of you. And as New Zealand says, while we might be different in our systems, many of the challenges we face are similar. And our fundamental aim to support our students and teachers remain constant. So as usual, I will just share 3 sets of reflections, and then I'll make some concluding remarks. My first reflection, after hearing from everyone over the last 3 days, I'm more convinced than ever of the urgency for us to upskill and even reskill our teachers for the challenges of tomorrow. And the fundamental principle remains. We take care of our teachers will take care of their children. It's a simple rule. In Singapore, we have a saying, 1 Minister for Education, 400 principals. 1 Minister for Education take care of 400 principals. 400 principals take care of 40,000 teachers. 40,000 teachers take care of 400,000 students. That's our rule of thumb. Take care of our teachers, and they'll take care of our students. And they take care of our mission. But in order for us to really take care of our teachers, we must do the following. First, we need to better understand the science of learning, teaching, and assessment. We need to enable our teachers to make the right decisions by giving them the best support and data available. And we need to help our teachers to evolve from didactic teaching to facilitative teaching, where they help our children to distill, discern, and discover. And we will need to help a new generation of teachers to acquire the skills to manage the social-emotional challenges themselves and of the younger generations. Because without that strong social-emotional foundations, there cannot be lifelong learning. And we will have to help our teachers embrace education technology or EdTech to complement their capabilities and capacities, to not only just do things better, but to do better things. And having said that, we need not be shy about just using technology to do things better for a start. Because when we use technology to do things better, soon we will use technology to do better things. And that is our eventual goal. And as we talk about partnerships, we recognize the urgent need also to help our schools build those capacities in order to leverage on those partnerships. But as I've mentioned before, this is a team effort. We should not expect each and every of our teachers to have every of those skill sets that we need. No one can do this alone, but we can do this all together. And when we talk about engendering trust and respect, we must then put it into action by strengthening the professionalism of our teachers. When the public, when society sees the deep sense of professionalism in our teachers, they will naturally trust and respect our teachers. As many of you say, trust cannot be demanded. Trust must be earned. And that's why we are committed to strengthening the professionalism of our teachers to engender this sense of trust and respect for our teachers. And trust begets trust. Respect begets respect. And we must never allow it to go into a negative spiral where we lose the trust and respect of our society, which in turn discourage the next generation to join us. Instead, we must make sure that we are on a positive spiral where we can inspire every generation of committed people to want to join the teaching service in service of our future. And trust and respect and a deep sense of professionalism will then engender pride and confidence in our people. Again, this confidence and pride in our profession will set us off on a positive spiral. But to do all this, we need to make tough decisions. Tough decisions to set aside time for our teachers to develop professionally. Tough decisions to cut down on things that are not so useful, not so purposeful. Everything is important, but certainly some things are more important than the rest. And I've always shared this with my teachers. I don't believe any of my teachers are afraid of hard work. I only believe that my teachers are afraid of not impactful work. When the teachers see the sparkle in the eyes of their children, they will be prepared to work hard and even harder. And partnerships require us to have the humility to know that we can't do it alone. But partnerships will also remind us that we need not feel inadequate, that we cannot achieve everything on our own. So that's my first reflection. A deep sense of urgency to strengthen the professionalism of our teachers in order for us to engender the trust and respect that we so desire. And that is so important for us to inspire the next generation to step forward in service of our nation. My second reflection has to do with education technology. Simply put, EdTech, education technology, is here to stay. We are past the conversation on whether to use or not to use EdTech. Instead, our conversations now centered on meaningful use of EdTech, appropriate use of EdTech to support our students and teachers. This include difficult but important questions, such as what is the age-appropriate access, not just in terms of the quantity of access, but the quality of access. Not just about applying high tech to teaching, but applying the right balance of high tech and high touch to teaching according to the needs of our diverse students. And so that we can use technology for personalized, customized, differentiated teaching to stretch the top and lift the bottom. And policy implementation must complement one another in a positive cycle. With the speed of change, we do not have the luxury of time for the perfect to be the enemy of the good. Neither should we seek perfection to irrelevance. But my third and final reflection is most important, and that is a student's means cannot determine their destiny. A student's means, financial means, backgrounds, cannot determine their destiny. Instead, methods and focus, the methods and focus of our education system can and instead should be the determinants of the outcome. For us in Singapore, education is and will continue to be a critical enabler for social mobility. We want to make sure that students in Singapore, regardless of background, regardless of how challenging their family backgrounds may be, are able to rise beyond their lack of family support. And we believe with the right family support, right teaching methods, right focus, we should be able to do so. I stand before you as a child from a single parent family. I went through my education system in Singapore not because my family was rich. I went through the education system in Singapore because my country was committed to developing each and every one of us. My community stepped forward to help all those who need that extra bit of help. And we were inculcated since young that so long as you work hard in this country called Singapore, you have the chance to be who you want to be. So long as you work hard, so long as you have the talent, our brand of meritocracy with Singapore characteristics will allow each and every child to go as far as they can. And this is amply demonstrated by the chart that Andreas showed us. It is relevant for countries and it is relevant for individuals. Countries using their resources in a focused way will be able to leapfrog over those with more experience, more resources, even. Whereas, on the flip side, Singapore, we are also never complacent to say that just because today we are having more resources, that it will necessarily mean that we will continue to succeed. As this applies to countries, I think it also applies to each and every individual family. And this is the message that we must send to each and every individual family. Your family resources will not determine the outcome of your child's education. Instead, each and every child in our country will have the chance to have the best resources, the most appropriate resources given to them, so long as they are determined, so long as they have a supportive family, focus on the education of the child. We will do all we can to democratize the access of the best teaching materials, using technologies available, making them accessible to each and every child, so that every child can continue to dream and dream big, so long as they are born here. So long as families are focused on improving the lives of their children, so long as our community continue to step forward, so long as our education system continue to attract the best people, using the best teaching methods, we believe that each and every of our children will have a better tomorrow. So on that note, thank you for inspiring us in Singapore. We look forward to Iceland being the host. We wish you all the best. and it would be remiss of me to conclude this without passing some advice to Iceland. I noted all your appreciation to me and my team, but I really want to say this, that whatever you have experienced over the last few days is the hard work, not by me, but by my team, and they are all the people standing behind the scene, and I would like to express my own personal appreciation for all their hard work behind the scene, making this possible. On that note, I'm very proud of my team for one final thing. They have met my KPI, and that was that throughout this conference, I will not meet the high bar set by the US, where the minister has to sing for the gala dinner. I think Iceland, you should thank me, because in Singapore, we have a saying, you do it once, it's a point, it's a data point. You do it twice, it's a trend. You do it 3 times, it's a tradition, and it can't be changed. I'm sorry I failed in maintaining the tradition, and I hope you will have the privilege to continue the proud tradition started by the US. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you so much, Minister. That brings us to the conclusion of ISTP 2024. And that leads me to say that it's been an extremely rich, engaging, and meaningful conversation that we've had over the last few days that have pushed and provoked our thinking on some of the most pertinent issues surrounding education and, of course, surrounding teachers and teaching. A conversation that emanated not just from this round table, but I think that revolved and came about from our school visits, our institutional visits, the bilateral meetings, the social programs, the bus rides, as well as the meals we have had together and the time that we spent as a fraternity. I know that it's been an extremely packed program with no lull time at all. But I believe that the holistic experience of ISTP is how we have built the camaraderie around the room and engendered the spirit of what ISTP is all about. So for that, again, I'd like to echo Minister Chan's thanks to the organizing committee, there are too many to be named, the team from EI, the team from OECD, and of course, the very big team from MOE working behind the scene to bring this all together so that we can have this conversation. So thank you so much to the organizing committees. And lastly, to all of us for coming together and for your most active and ardent participation. So all the best to your leadership work in what we have committed to. Safe travels and goodbye. Thank you.
And colleagues, there is an evaluation, so feedback is a gift. Please pass that gift on. Thank you very much.